The Book of Ruth, a sleep story of faithfulness and rest. The day has come to its quiet end. The last light of evening fades softly behind the distant hills, painting the sky in tones of rose and amber before surrendering to blue. Shadows lengthen across the earth, and a gentle hush begins to settle over the world. This is the sacred hour between wakefulness and rest, when the mind begins to slow and the heart grows still. It is the moment when the noise of the day drifts away like a tide returning to the sea. The air is calm now. The lamps are dim. The warmth of the day has passed, and the cool whisper of night brushes softly against the skin. You can almost feel the quiet itself, like a tender presence that invites your soul to rest. This is the hour when everything unnecessary fades away. There is no need to hurry, no need to strive. The world is slowing down, and so can you. Take a deep breath in, and let it out slowly. Once more in and out. Let each breath carry away the weight of the day. With every exhale, feel yourself becoming lighter, as if the very air were lifting your worries from your chest. Now, make yourself comfortable. Lie back upon your pillow. Let your shoulders melt into the mattress beneath you. Unclench your jaw. Soften your hands. Let your eyes grow heavy. You've arrived at a quiet space where you can rest completely, where there is nothing to fix, nothing to finish, and nothing to fear. Let go of the day that has passed, its noise, its effort, its expectations. They have all done their work. Now they can wait until morning. At this moment, there is only peace, only stillness, only the quiet presence of God surrounding you like a soft blanket of light. If your thoughts begin to wander, that's perfectly fine. Simply notice them, and then let them drift away like clouds passing slowly through a vast evening sky. Tonight, you will hear an ancient story, a sacred story carried through the centuries, a story that has comforted hearts in every generation. Listen with your heart, for even within these old verses, there are whispers meant for you tonight. Messages of faith, echoes of courage, and reminders that even when life feels uncertain, God's quiet hand is always at work, guiding, providing, redeeming. Long ago in the land of Israel, there lived a people who often turned away from God. It was a restless age, the age of the judges, when there was no king in Israel, and each person did what seemed right in their own eyes. It was a time of confusion and wandering, a season when faith flickered like a small flame in the wind. And yet, even in those dark days, light was never lost. It glimmered quietly in the hearts of the humble in small acts of kindness, and in the courage of those who chose love over fear. Among those quiet souls was a woman whose heart would shine like a lamp in the darkness. Her name was Ruth. Her story begins not in joy but in sorrow, with famine, loss, and the aching silence of grief. Yet through it all, an unseen hand was guiding her steps, turning her mourning into hope, her emptiness into abundance, her loneliness into love. This is her story, a story of faithfulness, of provision, and of grace that blooms unexpectedly, like a single flower growing in a barren field. So close your eyes now, and as you listen, allow your spirit to rest. Let the sound of the story carry you gently toward peace and trust and sleep. Find a comfortable position and let your body settle into stillness. Feel the quiet rhythm of your breath. In and out, slow and steady. There is nowhere you need to be. Nothing you need to do. Simply rest and listen. Let the ancient words wash over you like a gentle stream. Let the story become a lullaby for your soul. Tonight, we journey together into one of Scripture's most tender and beautiful tales. A quiet story set in a time of transition. A small story with great meaning, told in the rhythm of harvest fields and evening rest. Now let's begin. The time of judges ends. In the days when the judges ruled, there was famine in the land. The time of the judges had been turbulent, a cycle of falling away and returning, of chaos and deliverance, where everyone did what was right in their own eyes. It was an era of instability, of spiritual wandering, a time when God's people struggled to find their way. But now, as that age draws toward its close, we find a different kind of story. Not a tale of mighty warriors or dramatic battles, but something quieter, gentler. A story about ordinary people making faithful choices in difficult circumstances. And it begins with loss. There was a man from Bethlehem in Judah named Elimelech. His name meant, "My God is King," and he lived with his wife Naomi, whose name meant pleasant. They had 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, and together they were a family, a small household in the house of bread, for that is what Bethlehem means, the house of bread. But the house of bread had no bread. Famine gripped the land, and Elimelech made a decision. He would take his family east, across the Dead Sea, into the fields of Moab, where there was food. Moab, the descendants of Lot, a people outside the covenant. But there was grain there, and so they went. Picture them now, leaving their homeland, walking away from Bethlehem, carrying what little they could, hoping for survival. Loss upon loss. Time passed in Moab, and Elimelech died. Naomi became a widow in a foreign land, but her sons remained. They married Moabite women. Mahlon married Ruth, and Chilion married Orpah. For 10 years they lived together, building lives, creating home in a place not their own. Then sorrow came again. Both sons died, Mahlon and Chilion gone. Now there were 3 widows, no husbands, no sons, no security, no future by the world's accounting. Naomi had left Judah full, but she was returning empty. She heard that the Lord had visited his people, providing food once more in Bethlehem. And so she decided to return, to go back to the house of bread. Her daughters-in-law began the journey with her, but on the road, Naomi stopped. She turned to Orpah and Ruth and said, "Go back, return to your mother's houses. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May he grant that you find rest, each in the house of her husband." Rest, that word again, the deep rest of security, of belonging, of home. She kissed them, and they wept aloud. "No," they said, "we will return with you to your people." But Naomi insisted, "Turn back, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Do I have more sons in my womb who could become your husbands?" Her voice carried the weight of bitter realism. "No, my daughters. It is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me." They wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. She turned back toward Moab, toward the familiar, toward her own people. But Ruth clung to her. Ruth's vow. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after her." And here, at this crossroads, Ruth speaks words that have echoed through centuries. Words of covenant loyalty, of hesed, that rich Hebrew word meaning steadfast love, loyal kindness, faithfulness beyond obligation. Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you, or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." Breathe those words in. Feel their weight. Ruth, a Moabite woman, choosing the God of Israel, choosing poverty and uncertainty, choosing to belong to Naomi's people, choosing faithfulness when she could have chosen security. Naomi saw that Ruth was determined, and she said no more. The two women walked on together toward Bethlehem. Arrival in Bethlehem. They came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. The fields were golden, ready for reaping, and the whole town was stirred by their arrival. "Is this Naomi?" the women asked. And Naomi, pleasant Naomi, said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, when the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" She felt empty, bitter. She had lost her husband, her sons, her future. All she had was this foreign daughter-in-law who had bound herself to her with an unbreakable vow. But the text tells us something Naomi couldn't yet see. They came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest, a time of gathering, a time of provision. A season of plenty was beginning, even as Naomi felt only emptiness. Sometimes God's provision is already growing in the fields while we still feel only our lack. Ruth in the fields. Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. His name meant, "In him is strength." Ruth said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I shall find favor." And Naomi said to her, "Go, my daughter." So Ruth went, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. Happened. The text says she happened to come there, yet nothing in God's story is mere happenstance. Providence disguises itself as chance. Picture Ruth now, moving through the golden grain, following behind the reapers, bending and gathering, a foreigner doing menial work, humble, faithful, providing for her mother-in-law. Boaz came from Bethlehem. He greeted the reapers. "The Lord be with you." And they answered, The Lord bless you." Then Boaz noticed Ruth. "Whose young woman is this?" he asked his servant. And the servant said, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She asked to glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest." Boaz went to Ruth. Listen to his words, hear the kindness in them. "Now, listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink." Ruth fell on her face, bowing to the ground. "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" she asked. And Boaz answered, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." At mealtime, Boaz said to Ruth, "Come here and eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine." So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain. She ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." Extraordinary kindness, intentional provision. Boaz was ensuring that Ruth would not only survive but thrive. Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley, roughly half a bushel, a remarkable amount for one day's gleaning. She carried it back to the city, and Naomi saw what she had gleaned. Ruth also brought out and gave her what food she had left over after being satisfied. Naomi asked, "Where did you glean today? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." And Ruth told her, "The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz." Naomi's response tells us everything. May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead. And then, the man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers. A redeemer. In Hebrew, a goel, a kinsman with the right and responsibility to restore what was lost, to buy back land, to preserve family name, to provide for widows, a beautiful picture of restoration. At the threshing floor, Ruth continued to glean in Boaz's fields through the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, staying close to Naomi. The seasons turned, grain was gathered, and Ruth remained faithful. Then Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Now is not Boaz our relative? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." This was a bold move, a custom we may not fully understand, but essentially Ruth would be proposing marriage according to their customs, asking Boaz to spread his covering over her as her kinsman redeemer. Ruth answered, "All that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded. When Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then Ruth came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight, the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." Your wings, the same word Boaz had used earlier. She had come to take refuge under God's wings, and now she asks Boaz to be the means of that protection. Boaz said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." He promised to act as redeemer, though there was one man more closely related who had first right. "Remain tonight," Boaz said, "and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing, then, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you." And Ruth lay at his feet until the morning, then arose before one could recognize another. Boaz gave her 6 measures of barley, saying, "Do not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law." Not empty. Remember Naomi's words when she returned to Bethlehem? "I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty." But now Ruth returns with arms full of grain and a promise of redemption. The gate. Boaz went up to the gate of the city, the place of legal transactions, and sat down there. And behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken came by. Boaz called to him and gathered 10 men of the elders of the city. He explained the situation. Naomi was selling the parcel of land that belonged to Elimelech. The closer relative could redeem it, but there was also the matter of Ruth. Whoever redeemed the land would also acquire Ruth as a wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead. The man said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption yourself." And so it was decided. In front of witnesses, Boaz declared, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech, and all that belonged to Chilion and to Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance." And all the people at the gate and the elders said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthily in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem, and may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman." Fullness restored. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." 7 sons, the number of completion, of fullness. Ruth's love was worth more than perfect fullness. Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her lap and became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. The empty woman was empty no more. The bitter had become sweet. The foreigner had become family. The story that began with famine ended with fullness. And from this child, from this unlikely union of an Israelite man and a Moabite woman, from this story of faithfulness and redemption would come the line of David, and eventually the line of the Messiah himself. The turbulent time of the judges was ending, and God was quietly weaving his plan through the faithful choices of ordinary people, through Ruth's loyalty, through Boaz's kindness, through Naomi's bitterness transformed into blessing. And so the story ends as gently as it began. The Book of Ruth reminds us that God works in the quiet seasons, in the ordinary faithfulness of everyday choices, in the kindness of small gestures, in the loyalty that costs us something. It shows us that sometimes the greatest stories aren't about mighty warriors, but about humble gleaners. That foreigners can become family, that emptiness can be filled, that bitter can become sweet. As you rest now, consider the invitation to take refuge under God's wings, to trust his provision even in seasons of lack, to show hesed, faithful, loyal, covenant love to those around you. Ruth couldn't see the full story. She didn't know her great-great-grandson would be King David. She didn't know her name would be remembered forever. She simply chose faithfulness, one day at a time, one step at a time. And that is enough. Let your breathing deepen now. Feel your body sinking into rest. Know that you are held. The same God who provided for Ruth, who redeemed Naomi's emptiness, who brought fullness from famine, is with you now. Rest in his wings. Rest in his provision. Rest in his redemption. The house of bread has bread again. Sleep well. Amen.